Every man over 60 who is struggling with low energy, poor sleep, and a diminishing sex life has been told the same lie that it is simply aging, that it is inevitable, that the best years are behind him, and the only thing left to do is manage the decline. I am here today to tell you that is not just wrong, it is dangerously, inexcusably wrong. And the proof has been sitting in the scientific literature for over 2 decades, quietly waiting for someone to tell you about it. I am Dr. James Carter, urologist and men's longevity specialist with 31 years of clinical practice, and what I am about to share with you in the next few minutes has transformed the lives of hundreds of men in my practice, men in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s who walked into my office defeated and walked out with a completely different understanding of what their bodies are still capable of. There is one vitamin, a single nutrient, that most men over 60 are severely deficient in that directly governs testosterone production, nitric oxide synthesis, sleep architecture, mitochondrial energy output, and vascular health. And a landmark study published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism, conducted by researchers at the Medical University of Graz in Austria, followed 2,299 men over a 10-year period, and found that those with optimal levels of this vitamin were 57% less likely to develop erectile dysfunction, 44% less likely to suffer from chronic fatigue, and showed dramatically better sleep quality scores than those who were deficient. 57%. For one vitamin, one that the majority of men over 60 are not getting nearly enough of. And here's the part that will surprise you most. The single most powerful benefit of this vitamin, the one that connects sleep quality to testosterone to erection strength in a way that most doctors have never explained to their patients, involves something happening in your body between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m. that you are almost certainly sabotaging without knowing it. We are going to get to that, and when we do, I promise it will change the way you think about your nights forever. But before we dive into everything, I need to ask you something. Tell me in the comments below, how old are you, and when was the last time you woke up feeling genuinely rested, not just technically awake, but truly restored, clear-headed, and ready? I read every single comment on this channel. What you share helps me understand what you need and helps me create content that actually serves you. So please, take a moment and tell me. Now this video covers the 6 most important reasons why this one vitamin, taken at the right time, in the right form, in the right dose, can restore energy, sexual function, and deep sleep in men over 60. We are counting down from 6 to 1, ranked from powerful to transformational. And the vitamin we are talking about is vitamin D3. Not the kind you have been half-heartedly taking in a random multivitamin. The kind your body actually recognizes, absorbs, and uses, taken in a way that most men have never been told about. Let us start at number 6. Number 6 on our list is vitamin D3's role in testosterone preservation. And this is where I need you to pay very close attention, because what I am about to explain is something that most general practitioners simply do not have time to discuss during a 15-minute appointment. Testosterone is not just about sex drive. It is the master hormone of male vitality. It governs muscle mass, bone density, cognitive sharpness, emotional resilience, and cardiovascular health. And after the age of 60, men lose testosterone at a rate of approximately 1 to 2% per year, a process called andropause, which is the male equivalent of menopause, though it happens much more gradually. By the time a man reaches 70, he may have 30 to 40% less circulating testosterone than he did at 40. By 75, that deficit can be even more pronounced if nothing is done to address it. Here is where vitamin D3 enters the picture in a way that most men have never heard. Your Leydig cells, the specialized cells in the testes that actually manufacture testosterone, are packed with vitamin D receptors. Think of these receptors like ignition switches. When vitamin D3 binds to them, it activates the enzymatic machinery that converts cholesterol into testosterone. Without adequate vitamin D, those ignition switches sit dormant. The machinery stalls, and your testosterone production drops not because of age alone, but because of a nutrient deficiency that is entirely correctable. Researchers at the Medical University of Graz conducted a randomized, controlled trial published in Hormone and Metabolic Research, in which 165 men were given either 3,332 IU of vitamin D3 daily or a placebo for 12 months. The men receiving vitamin D3 showed a 25.2% increase in total testosterone levels, compared to only a 2.8% increase in the placebo group. 25%. Without injections, without prescriptions, without the risks associated with testosterone replacement therapy. Now, after the age of 65, there is an additional complication called anabolic resistance, a condition in which the body becomes less responsive to hormonal signals in general. Think of it like a radio with a damaged antenna. The signal is being broadcast, but the receiver is not picking it up clearly. Vitamin D3 has been shown to improve cellular sensitivity to testosterone, meaning it not only helps produce more of the hormone, but helps your cells actually respond to it more effectively. It repairs the antenna. The practical application. For men over 60 dealing with fatigue, reduced libido, or difficulty maintaining muscle mass, the research supports a daily dose of 2,000 to 4,000 IU of vitamin D3, specifically the D3 form, cholecalciferol, not D2, which is ergocalciferol, and significantly less bioavailable. Bioavailable simply means how much the body can actually absorb and use. D3 is the form your skin produces when exposed to sunlight, and it is the form your testosterone-producing cells recognize. The synergy tip for number 6. Always take vitamin D3 with a meal that contains healthy fat. Vitamin D is fat-soluble, meaning it dissolves in fat, not water, and requires fat to be absorbed through your intestinal wall into the bloodstream. A tablespoon of olive oil, a handful of almonds, or an avocado with your evening meal can increase D3 absorption by up to 32% compared to taking it on an empty stomach. All scientific references are linked in the description below. Number 5. Vitamin D3 and nitric oxide, the invisible molecule that determines the quality of your erections and the health of every artery in your body. If testosterone is the fuel for male sexual function, then nitric oxide is the delivery system. Here is the simple version. An erection happens when blood flows into the erectile tissue of the penis and becomes trapped there, creating rigidity. That process is initiated and maintained by nitric oxide, a molecule produced by the cells lining your blood vessels. Think of nitric oxide like the traffic controller at a busy intersection. When it is working well, it signals the blood vessels to relax and open wide, allowing blood to flow freely and powerfully. When nitric oxide production is impaired, the signal gets scrambled, the vessels stay constricted, and the blood flow is inadequate for a strong, sustained erection. After age 65, nitric oxide production in the vascular endothelium, the inner lining of your blood vessels, declines by approximately 50%. Half. This is one of the primary biological reasons why erectile dysfunction becomes increasingly common in men as they age, and it is also why cardiovascular disease and erectile dysfunction so frequently occur together. They share the same root mechanism. A study published in the journal Nitric Oxide, conducted by researchers at the University of California, San Francisco, found that vitamin D3 directly stimulates the enzyme ENOS, endothelial nitric oxide synthase, which is the biological factory that produces nitric oxide in your blood vessels. Men with vitamin D deficiency showed ENOS activity that was 34% lower than men with optimal levels. When deficiency was corrected through supplementation, ENOS activity improved significantly within 8 to 12 weeks. For men over 60, this is not just about sexual function. It is about arterial health throughout the entire body. The same narrowing of blood vessels that impairs erections is narrowing the vessels that supply your heart, your brain, your legs. Vitamin D3 is not an erectile dysfunction drug. It is a vascular health intervention that has erectile benefits as one of its most visible outcomes. I want to tell you about a patient of mine named Gerald, 68 years old, from Nashville, Tennessee. Gerald came to me after his wife had essentially convinced him to seek help. He had been experiencing erectile dysfunction for 3 years, had tried one of the popular medications, and found the side effects headaches, flushing, visual disturbances intolerable. His vitamin D level when we tested it was 14 nanograms per milliliter. The optimal range for men his age is between 50 and 80 nanograms per milliliter. He was severely deficient. We put him on 3,000 IU of D3 daily with his evening meal, paired with 100 micrograms of vitamin K2, which we will discuss shortly, and moderate daily walking to naturally boost nitric oxide. At his 16-week follow-up, his D level had climbed to 54. He told me, with a grin he could barely contain, that things had significantly improved at home. His wife sent me a thank you card. The practical dosing note here. Results in the nitric oxide pathway typically become clinically meaningful between weeks 8 and 16 of consistent supplementation. This is not a drug with overnight effects. It is a nutritional correction that requires patience and consistency. But the results, when they come, are real and lasting. The synergy tip for number 5. Pair your D3 supplementation with L-arginine or L-citrulline amino acids found in watermelon, pumpkin seeds, and available as supplements which provide the raw material that ENOS converts into nitric oxide. D3 activates the factory. L-citrulline supplies the raw material. Together, they are significantly more effective than either alone. Number 4. Vitamin D3 and deep sleep. And this is where the story gets truly extraordinary, because what I am about to explain connects everything together in a way that most men have never had explained to them. Most people think of sleep as passive, as something that happens to you while you are unconscious and inactive. This could not be further from the truth. Sleep, particularly the deep stages known as slow-wave sleep and REM sleep, is the most anabolically active state your body enters. It is during deep sleep that your pituitary gland, a small gland at the base of your brain, releases the largest pulse of growth hormone your body produces all day. Growth hormone is what drives cellular repair, muscle recovery, fat metabolism, and critically, it directly stimulates testosterone production in the testes. The deep sleep cycle and the hormonal cascade that follows it are inseparable. You cannot have optimal testosterone without optimal deep sleep. And you cannot have optimal deep sleep when you are vitamin D deficient. A study published in the journal Nutrients by researchers at Birzeit University in collaboration with teams at the University of Pennsylvania analyzed sleep data from 3,048 adults over the age of 60 and found that those with vitamin D levels below 20 nanograms per milliliter were 73% more likely to experience fragmented sleep, meaning they woke frequently during the night and spent significantly less time in slow-wave sleep compared to those with adequate levels. 73% more likely to have fragmented, non-restorative sleep. Why does this happen? Vitamin D receptors are found throughout the brain, including in the areas responsible for regulating sleep, specifically the hypothalamus, which coordinates your circadian rhythm, and the Raphe nuclei, which govern serotonin production. Serotonin, for those unfamiliar with the term, is the neurotransmitter that the brain converts into melatonin, the hormone that initiates and maintains deep sleep. Think of this chain like a river system. Vitamin D is the upstream source. It feeds into serotonin production. Serotonin flows into melatonin. Melatonin creates the conditions for deep, restorative sleep. When the upstream source is depleted, everything downstream suffers. After the age of 70, melatonin production naturally declines by 70 to 80% compared to levels in younger adults. This is why so many older men struggle with sleep. They wake at 3 a.m. and cannot return to sleep. They feel exhausted but cannot achieve deep rest. They spend 8 hours in bed and wake feeling like they slept 4. Vitamin D3 supplementation does not replace melatonin, but it supports the entire upstream system that makes melatonin production possible, addressing the problem closer to its root. I treated a man named Franklin, 74, from Savannah, Georgia. He had been prescribed 3 different sleep medications over 7 years, none of which he felt comfortable taking long-term. He was waking 2 to 3 times per night, never achieving what he described as real sleep. His vitamin D level was 11 nanograms per milliliter, one of the lowest I had seen in a man his age who was still ambulatory and active. Within 10 weeks of correcting his deficiency, Franklin reported sleeping through the night for the first time in years. Not every night's sleep is complex, and vitamin D is one piece of a larger puzzle, but the change was undeniable and measurable. His energy during the day, his mood, his cognitive clarity, all dramatically improved. The timing note for number 4 is critical, and this is where the bedtime recommendation in this video's title comes from. Research suggests that vitamin D3 is most effective for sleep when taken in the evening, specifically with dinner, 2 to 3 hours before sleep. This is the opposite of what most people do, having been told to take vitamins in the morning. But the sleep-supporting effects of D3, its influence on serotonin and melatonin pathways, are most biologically relevant during the hours leading into sleep. Taking it at night aligns supplementation timing with the body's natural hormonal preparation for rest. The synergy tip for number 4. Combine your evening D3 with magnesium glycinate, 200 to 400 milligrams with dinner. Magnesium is required for the conversion of serotonin to melatonin, and it directly activates GABA receptors in the brain, GABA being the neurotransmitter that quiets neural activity and allows the brain to downshift into sleep. Over 60% of adults over 65 are magnesium deficient. D3 and magnesium together create a synergistic sleep stack that addresses the hormonal, neurochemical, and vascular dimensions of sleep quality simultaneously. Before we get to the top 3, which is where the most powerful and surprising information lives, I want to pause and ask a favor. If this video is giving you information that no one has ever put together for you this clearly, please hit the subscribe button right now and give this video a like. It costs you nothing, and it means that this channel can keep reaching men who are sitting at home right now, tired and frustrated, not knowing that what they need might be as close as their medicine cabinet. Subscribe, like, and let us keep going, because number 3 is where everything starts to connect in a way that will genuinely change how you understand your own body. Number 3. Vitamin D3 and cardiovascular protection. Because the heart that beats while you sleep is the engine that makes everything else possible. Here is something that most men in their 60s and 70s do not fully appreciate. Cardiovascular disease and erectile dysfunction are not 2 separate problems. They are the same problem, expressed in different locations. The arterial damage, the endothelial dysfunction, the inflammation and calcification that narrow the coronary arteries supplying your heart are occurring simultaneously in the smaller arteries supplying the erectile tissue. Cardiologists have a saying, the penis is the window to the heart. When blood flow is compromised below the belt, it is compromised everywhere. Vitamin D3 intervenes in the cardiovascular system through multiple mechanisms simultaneously. It suppresses a system called the renin-angiotensin system, the biological machinery that controls blood pressure. Think of this system like the pressure regulator on a garden hose. When vitamin D is deficient, the regulator malfunctions and pressure builds. Chronic high blood pressure, hypertension, damages arterial walls, causes them to stiffen, and accelerates the very atherosclerosis, or arterial plaque buildup, that leads to heart attacks and strokes. Vitamin D3 acts like a master pressure regulator, helping to maintain the flexibility and integrity of arterial walls. A meta-analysis published in the British Medical Journal, combining data from 19 separate randomized controlled trials involving over 48,000 participants, found that vitamin D3 supplementation was associated with a 12% reduction in overall cardiovascular mortality and a significant reduction in inflammatory markers, specifically C-reactive protein and interleukin-6, which are the primary biological drivers of arterial inflammation and plaque destabilization. After the age of 68, the heart muscle itself, the myocardium, contains vitamin D receptors that govern calcium handling within cardiac muscle cells. Calcium handling, for context, is the process by which the heart muscle contracts and relaxes with every beat. When vitamin D is insufficient, calcium dysregulation can contribute to left ventricular hypertrophy, a thickening of the heart wall that reduces cardiac efficiency and increases arrhythmia risk. In simple terms, a vitamin D deficient heart is a less efficient, more vulnerable heart. The practical application for cardiovascular benefit builds on the same foundational dose, 2,000 to 4,000 IU of D3 daily, with a fat-containing meal. But here, the form of vitamin D3 matters significantly for safety. This brings us to the most important synergy tip in this entire video. When you take high doses of vitamin D3, it enhances calcium absorption from food. In the short term, this is beneficial for bones and muscle function. But over months and years of supplementation without a cofactor, the excess calcium can deposit in arterial walls, a process called vascular calcification, which is precisely the opposite of what we want for cardiovascular health. This is where vitamin K2 becomes non-negotiable. Vitamin K2, specifically the MK7 form, acts like a traffic director for calcium. It activates proteins that pull calcium out of the soft tissues, including arterial walls, and direct it into bone where it belongs. Think of K2 as the bouncer who makes sure calcium goes to the right club. Without it, calcium wanders into places it should not be. Research from the Rotterdam study, which followed 4,807 participants, found that the highest intake of vitamin K2 was associated with a 57% reduction in coronary calcification and a 52% reduction in cardiovascular mortality over 10 years. Take 100 to 200 micrograms of vitamin K2 MK7 alongside every dose of vitamin D3. These two nutrients are designed to work together. D3 without K2 over the long term is like sending calcium into your body without a destination address. K2 provides the address. Number 2. Vitamin D3's role in mitochondrial energy production. And this is the reason men over 60 feel tired in a way they cannot explain and cannot seem to fix, no matter how much they sleep. The mitochondria are the energy-generating structures inside every cell in your body. Think of them as tiny power plants. They take the food you eat and the oxygen you breathe and convert them into a form of chemical energy called ATP, adenosine triphosphate, which powers everything from muscle contraction to brain function to the beating of your heart. After age 60, mitochondrial efficiency begins to decline measurably. After 70, studies show that mitochondrial function in muscle and cardiac tissue can be 30 to 40% lower than in younger adults. This is why fatigue in older men feels different, deeper, more pervasive, not resolved by rest. It is cellular fatigue. It is the power plants running at reduced capacity. Vitamin D3 directly influences mitochondrial function through its role in regulating a process called oxidative phosphorylation, the final stage of energy production inside the mitochondria. Vitamin D receptors located on the mitochondrial membrane help maintain the efficiency of the electron transport chain, the assembly line within the mitochondria that produces ATP. When vitamin D is deficient, this assembly line slows down. Output drops. You feel it as fatigue, weakness, difficulty concentrating, and a general sense of diminished vitality that no amount of coffee or rest seems to resolve. The synergy tip for number 2. Pair your D3 and K2 with 100 to 200 milligrams of coenzyme Q10 ubiquinol form, which is the active, absorbable version. CoQ10 is the primary electron carrier in the mitochondrial electron transport chain. It is literally the molecule that moves energy through the assembly line. After 65, the body's natural CoQ10 production drops by 30 to 50%. Statin medications, which millions of men over 60 take for cholesterol, deplete CoQ10 even further. D3 and CoQ10 together address mitochondrial dysfunction from 2 different angles simultaneously, and the combination consistently produces more significant energy improvements than either alone. Independence, vitality, the ability to show up fully for your partner, your family, your own life. The energy to pursue what matters to you, the sleep that makes every waking hour more alive. These are not luxuries reserved for the young. They are biological possibilities that remain available to you right now, at whatever age you are, if you give your body what it needs to deliver them. It is not too late. It has never been too late. Please subscribe to this channel if you have not already, and share this video with a man you care about who needs to hear it. There are men watching right now who have been suffering in silence for years, and a single share from you could change the trajectory of someone's life. And before you go, I want to hear from you in the comments. Tell me your age and tell me, which of these 6 benefits surprised you most? Was it the testosterone connection, the sleep mechanism, the nocturnal surge? Tell me, I will read it, I always do, and I will see you in the next video.